Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Barbara Ann. This is my channel, Straight Out of Context. I'm so glad that you are here with me today and that you are joining me. I'm going to go over something regarding Candace Owens again. Like I said, I was a really big fan of hers since she was doing the entire investigation into the whole Making a Murderer Netflix documentary, into the Black Lives Matter movement, and where the $90 million was going when she was with the Daily Wire, when she got fired, when she did Xavier Poussard's 9+ year investigation into Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron. And she brought that to her mainstream audience. But September 10th, 2025 changed everything for me. That's when I realized the psychological manipulation tactics that are being used by Candace Owens via her platform, her website, particularly her YouTube show, which I don't know, she calls a podcast. I don't know if she is putting her content, her YouTube show, her actual content, if she's taking the audio and extracting that and then putting that on podcast. Don't care to even check. They call it a podcast. We call it YouTube videos. It's YouTube video content. That's essentially what it is. And we see a lot of people that have been fired by CNN or Fox, the Daily Wire, all people that have gone on to either start a podcast, do their own show on YouTube, or have created their own website, etc., etc. And like I said before, you notice there's a big circle jerk, a big human centipede between these people. In fact, I have the perfect thing for this, my hat. Radicalized by basic decency. Perfect. Candace Owens sued while she was in high school. Candace Owens' family sued the Stanford Board of Education after she received racist and threatening voicemails from classmates in 2007, resulting in a $37,500 settlement. Background of the incident: in 2007, Candace Owens was a senior at Stanford High School in Connecticut. During that time, she received 3 voicemail messages totaling about 2 minutes that contained racist death threats from a group of white male classmates, one of whom was the son of the then Stanford mayor and future Connecticut governor, Daniel Malloy. The superintendent of Stanford schools described the messages as horrendous. Legal action. Owens' family reported the threats to the school, but there was a significant delay in addressing the situation. It took approximately 6 weeks before any charges were filed. Feeling that the board had failed to adequately protect her rights, her family filed a lawsuit against the Stanford Board of Education, claiming the district neglected its responsibilities to ensure her safety. The outcome was that the lawsuit resolved in January of 2008, and the Owens family was awarded a settlement of $37,500. During the interim period, Owens was reportedly homeschooled for 6 weeks for her protection. The case is often cited as an early experience that shaped Owens' perspective on institutional protection and public confrontation. But did it also influence her ability to manipulate the legal system, or to use it to her benefit and her advantage to try to award herself more money? Just a question. Then there was this. Candace Owens was denied entry to Australia after the High Court upheld the government's decision, citing potential risks of inciting community discord, and she has subsequently launched a legal action challenging the visa refusal. Now, the visa denial and High Court ruling in October of 2024, Australia's Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke rejected Candace Owens' visa application, citing concerns that her presence could incite discord and unrest due to her history of making inflammatory comments on sensitive issues, including Holocaust denial, Islamophobia, and criticisms of various minority communities. The refusal was based on failing the country's character test under the Migration Act, which allows denying visa entry to individuals who could threaten social cohesion or public safety. Candace Owens, to the whole entire nation of Australia, is a public safety risk. That's her reputation. That's going to be her legacy. Wasn't it a public safety risk that actually killed Charlie Kirk? The fact that these people are being paid however many thousands of dollars to provide him with executive level type of security, and they don't even do the basic recon of rooftops. I mean, the Secret Service failed to do the same thing for Donald Trump. It begs the question. It really begs the question. But see, this is where, when you get into the government conspiracies and the feds and all of that, if it was a sniper, if it was the feds, if it was another foreign entity or agent, there wouldn't have been no cameras, because they would have done recon and they would have taken out the cameras. But see, good security teams, the first thing they would have done was had posts on top of every available rooftop. They are neglecting to do that. I mean, look what happened with Donald Trump. People are literally standing there. Is that a person on the roof? Is that a person on the roof? Is that a person running up on the roof over there? Like 3,500 people. It's like the woman in New York City who was literally screaming for help, and 100 plus people all heard her down there screaming for help while she's being brutally attacked and stabbed and over again, fighting for her life. And all of these witnesses, however many it was, 100 may be an exaggeration. It could have been 60, however many it was. This whole documentary was done about her case, decades ago. None of them called the police. None of them went down there to intervene. None of them did anything, because they're like, oh, nope. Somebody else is handling it. Somebody else, not our business. A whole entire woman is being attacked and fighting for her life, screaming for help. And nobody does anything. Everybody sees somebody up on the roof with an entire rifle and is like, oh, that's weird. Let's get out our cell phones. Let's get out our cell phones and start recording that. Yeah, let's not even warn the Secret Service or the president, who's right over there. Let's just record it and be like, hey, isn't that kind of suspicious? There's like a weird guy on the roof with like a rifle. And with Charlie Kirk, there's different viewpoints of Tyler James Robinson up on the roof. And everybody's like, that's weird. There's a guy on the roof. There's a guy on the roof. Wonder what he's doing there. Because it's just every day somebody's working on a rooftop, right? Crazy. But this whole entire case, Owens appealed the decision, arguing it infringed on the implied constitutional freedom of political communication in Australia. However, Australia's High Court ruled unanimously against her in October of 2025, upholding the law and confirming that the visa refusal was justified to protect the national interests and community harmony. And if she's that much of a threat to Australia, what kind of threat do you think she is to the United States of America? Just saying. The court emphasized that the implied freedom of political communication is not absolute and can be reasonably limited to avoid social strife. And Candace Owens is that much of a public safety threat, that much of a threat socially, that they denied her a visa. Owens was also ordered to pay the government's legal costs. Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? So the government not only doubled down, they tripled down. But that's not it. We're going to get into something else. Okay, let's continue on here. Now, Candace Owens sued a real estate company that owned her Stamford, Connecticut apartment, claiming illness from mold exposure. But the company won a countersuit for unpaid rent and damages. Background of the lawsuit. Okay, in 2019, Candace Owens filed a lawsuit against a real estate company that owned her luxury apartment in Stamford, Connecticut. She alleged that mold and mildew in the apartment caused her to become sick, prompting the legal action against the property owners. The real estate company responded with a countersuit arguing that Candace Owens was at least partly responsible for the moisture problems in the apartment. Why? Because Candace Owens was running the air conditioner and having the windows open at the same time, creating the environment for mold. Was she creating the environment to therefore sue and to try to get some kind of monetary judgment because she was taught in high school that this is an easy way to make a large sum of money? I don't know. Just asking questions. So, of course, the real estate responded that she was partly responsible for the moisture problems in the apartment. They also claimed that Candace Owens, failed to pay rent, totaling approximately $3,550 per month. Per month. Between September 2016 and January of 2017. September, October, November, December, January. That's over 5 months. Court proceedings found in favor of the real estate company, with the judge ordering Candace Owens to pay over $20,000 in damages and attorney fees by 2021. This lawsuit took place amid Candace Owens' broader public profile involving several legal issues and controversies surrounding her. The apartment lawsuit remains one of her earlier publicized legal challenges. Now, she claims this about mold. This is the proof that Candace Owens submits right here. Right here, that she was sick from mold. Black mold, specifically. What is her claim? I don't know. She clearly didn't have medical documents, photographs, any kind of testing to prove that it was really mold or black mold. No proof whatsoever that the scabs on her face are anything other than acne or psoriasis or eczema, because she has what looks like acne spots in between her eyes, on her forehead, and scarring from what appears to be acne. So I don't know what she's trying to say here. Is this little pimple on the side supposed to be her sick from black mold? I don't know. Let's continue on. The defamation suit filed by French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte Macron against Candace Owens centers on false claims about Brigitte Macron's gender, leading to significant legal action and considerable public attention. Well, let's get into that. Background and allegations. In 2025, Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron filed a defamation lawsuit in Delaware Superior Court, where Candace Owens has her LLC, because all LLCs are listed in Delaware, right? They're registered in Delaware. Against American Conservative. Okay? American Conservative. Remember, she was a liberal for most of her life. She's also new to being Catholic, converting to Catholicism. Just saying. Keep that in mind. Against American Conservative commentator Candace Owens. The suit accuses Owens of repeatedly spreading false and defamatory claims, specifically that Brigitte Macron was born male, and related conspiracies, including accusations of identity theft and incest. These allegations originated in an 8-part podcast series, meaning you mean YouTube channel video content. This is what this is. It's literally a YouTube channel. Part podcast series by Owens titled Becoming Brigitte, along with social media posts and merchandise mocking the couple. The Macrons insist these claims are false and damaging, with Brigitte having won previous defamation cases in France against similar rumors. Candace Owens sought a dismissal. Remember what she said to Tucker Carlson when she sat down and he said, well, what? Really? Wow. Never had anybody have, for example, $400 million defamation lawsuit filed against them. And they say, absolutely not. I don't want it dismissed. Candace Owens says, no, absolutely. Go find the clip. It's literally everywhere on TikTok, all over YouTube. She literally says, no, she doesn't want the lawsuit dismissed because she wants to at least get to discovery. She wants to at least be proven right. Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Candace Owens sought a dismissal of the lawsuit. She didn't tell you that. She didn't publicize that her lawyers did quietly file to dismiss the lawsuit, citing different things: change of venue, inappropriate venue, that a foreign entity, a foreign president can't tell an American citizen that they don't have the right to free speech. Here's the thing about the First Amendment. Okay, the First Amendment to the Constitution. And here, I'll just go ahead and get this out. You see this little book right here? The Constitution of the United States of America. The First Amendment does protect free speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, free assembly, which means peaceful protesting, not looting, rioting, property destruction, damage, and murder by stomping on homeless people's heads when they're in their 70s and 80s and they're displaced from having a roof over their head. Okay, that's not peaceful protesting. Same thing with free speech, freedom of the press, and the right to petition your government and to air your grievances with your government. Free speech doesn't cover cyber stalking, cyber harassing, threats, libel, slander, defamation, lies, intentional or not intentional lies, manipulation, gaslighting, any lies that amount to defamation. It protects the truth. It protects your thoughts, your feelings, your expressions, your critiques, and your criticisms. That's what the First Amendment protects. You're free to say whatever you want, but you're not free to just go around and like threaten somebody's life, or to just say whatever you want to intentionally defame somebody because you're biased and you don't like them or you don't agree with them or their politics. So there's that. She also wanted it dismissed because she's saying not only is it the inappropriate venue for Delaware, they filed it in Delaware because that's where her LLC is listed. So she did quietly have her lawyers try to dismiss the lawsuit. But we're going to get into something in just the entire cherry of it all. The cherry on the cake, the icing on the cake, whatever the expression is. Legal proceedings and arguments. Candace Owens sought a dismissal of the lawsuit, arguing that Delaware courts lack jurisdiction and that any legal claims should be heard in France or Tennessee, where Owens lives and works. Her attorneys also cited the expiration of France's statute of limitations and described the lawsuit as libel tourism. The Macrons responded with an amended complaint detailing Owens' ongoing vitriolic rhetoric and refusal to retract the allegations, portraying her actions as a campaign to gain notoriety and profit. And that is exactly what she has done. Try to gain herself notoriety and gain herself financial profit for monetary financial gain. That's what it is. And of course, if she does lose this lawsuit, she could have to pay back millions and millions of dollars in damages. Now, it is said right here, Candace Owens publicly defied the lawsuit, viewing it as an attack on her First Amendment rights, signaling willingness to continue her claims. Now, okay, Candace Owens may be correct about Brigitte Macron. Brigitte Macron has came out and said in the mainstream media, I don't know if this is true or not, but that during her series, especially the first 2 episodes, they had emailed Candace Owens. And of course, you know that they emailed Candace Owens because she was willing to put up all of the emails in her own series and then responds back with the 20 questions that she wants Brigitte Macron to personally respond to so she can like actually clarify and all of that. But here's the thing. Candace Owens didn't spend 9 years of her life verifying, corroborating, checking, fact checking, and vetting. In 9 years' time, doing an investigation into Brigitte Macron, and where is the real Brigitte Trogneau? Where is the real Jean-Michel Trogneau? Those are questions that are still left unanswered because nobody knows if Brigitte Macron really is Brigitte Trogneau. And if she's not, she's really Jean-Michel Trogneau, and she's been assuming the identity of her younger sister if her younger sister didn't pass away at some point. Because in order to transition genders, she would presumably need a real woman, a real female that was really born and had a real birth certificate to be able to assume that identity, because it's not that easy to just make a fake one. unless you have those kinds of connections that can fabricate it and actually file it and make it look like it was filed back in the 40s or 50s, and then not only that, but it also begs the question, if Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron married in 2007, if Brigitte Macron really is a biological man, that would null and void their marriage, because same-sex couples could not legally get married until 2013, I believe. Sometime in the spring of 2013 in France. So to assume a real female with a real birth certificate's identity and then to get married, that would all be null and void. And if Brigitte Macron really is Jean-Michel Trogneau, maybe they really did get secretly married after 2013. But it also begs the question, all of that evidence would have been found. Because this book right here, Xavier Poussard, everybody keeps bringing up Candace Owens usurped Xavier Poussard's 9 years of hard work, even fighting the French government. After 50 years, class photos and documents should be freely obtained by anybody in the public, kind of like America's Freedom of Information Act request, right? Those things should be public. And Xavier Poussard had to fight the French government in order to get these class photos of Jean-Michel Trogneau. And guess who Jean-Michel Trogneau's face, under the best facial software in the world, which is made by the Chinese, is saying that this little boy, Jean-Michel Trogneau, is truly a match, a high likely match for Brigitte Macron. And his investigation, I've read this book 3 times. His investigation is extremely thorough. This is the picture that Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron has been trying to hide, because at the time, every male that was 18 in France had to sign up for military service or a deferral of military service. And this photo was very difficult for them to obtain, meaning that somebody within the French government was corrupt in trying to hide this information. This is Jean-Michel Trogneau, and this is Brigitte Macron. I think Xavier Poussard, who isn't living in France, moved to, I think, Spain for the protection of himself. Because other journalists that have looked into Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron have miraculously ended up in the Seine River, or deceased, or sued to oblivion. But Brigitte and Emmanuel have publicly said in mainstream media that they have sent Candace Owens irrefutable proof that Brigitte Macron is Brigitte Trogneau, and that she was born female. And they also have said recently in mainstream media, which Candace Owens, of course, had to take and mock, that they're willing to submit not only DNA or blood, photographic and medical evidence that Brigitte Macron is a biological female and is truly Brigitte Trogneau. Not really her brother, Jean-Michel Trogneau. Now, I think Xavier Poussard truly did a fantastic job spending nearly a decade of his life on this investigation. Candace Owens did nothing but usurp it. Candace Owens presents an investigation by Xavier Poussard. He hasn't been sued, but Candace Owens has. And it makes you wonder what's really going on there. She doesn't want it to be dismissed, but then she quietly has her attorneys try to dismiss the lawsuit. Weird, huh? Candace Owens has recently said this on her X account. Now, we know how she likes to bait really important, like real billionaires, real millionaires, real politicians, not just these YouTubers like me, into a reaction or a statement, and then she likes to use that in her content. cool, whatever. But that's not evidence of anything. That is an instigator. That's a shit starter. That's somebody who likes to stir the pot, stand back, and watch it boil. That's what we call that. Now, she says, looks like another round of a desperate and fake debunking regarding the Egyptian planes. These federally sponsored trends are as fun as they are predictable now. And I can tell you guys with absolute certainty, the word salads here are so narcissistic and sociopathic, it's unbelievable. Because just say what you mean and mean what you say. That easy. That simple. It takes this much energy and time to just be honest and just say what you mean and mean what you say. But yet you take hours and hours and days, 43 hours of 43 videos all about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Getting to what proof and evidence, you ask? Nothing. Oh, but there is something. I can tell you guys with absolute certainty that today I learned the federal government is in a panic about the mention of their joint DHS, FBI, and DEA office at 920, North King. The tip proved absolutely solid, and I was informed so. Who are you friends with, Candace? Are you friends with Kash Patel also? And is that who you're getting this crazy, dumb information from? You're just playing the public for stupid sheep? Not everybody in the public is stupid sheep. There's some people out here that actually have a superior IQ. There are actually people out in the general public that are just normal, everyday people that have accounts on YouTube and have accounts on X and have accounts on TikTok and Facebook that have a certified 147 IQ or a 125 IQ. Biggest mistake is like what Candace Owens says about Donald Trump is never underestimate your audience. What was it that Taylor Swift said recently? Oh yeah, that's right. The crowd is your king. Ain't that right, Taylor? Ain't that what you said? The crowd is your king. The crowd is your king. So that's how you get Swifties. You just have to be a narcissistic sociopath. Cluster B personality disorder completely unchecked. Run all of this crazy BS. Make people believe that you are the end all be all of truth. Only person that cared about Charlie Kirk at all. Yet she didn't even attend his viewing, his funeral. Didn't even go to the big memorial. None of that. Wants you to think that she was grieving so hard for months, yet she was making content right away. Go back and look at all of the dates of all of her YouTube videos on her YouTube channel as a YouTuber. But she has this absolute certainty that the federal government is in a panic. This tip proved absolutely solid. It is now a fact that a foreign dignitary was picked up after arriving from Provo the morning of Charlie's assassination on the Egyptian plane and then transferred to 920 King for some joint operation. And yes, despite the massive office space, there is nothing else in that building except a law firm and a place to eat. The law firm piece is an interesting side fact. The law firm piece is an interesting side fact related to portions of the email that I chose not to read on air, yet stay tuned. Well, what is she referring to? Well, when she is talking about 920 North King Road, she's talking about the law firm Richards, Layton, and Finger. They represent Candace Owens in her defamation suit against Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron. So it begs the question, why would any Egyptian plane or foreign dignitaries be stopping for an entire day or an entire day and night? What are they doing at the exact location and office where Candace Owens' attorneys are located? Who is paying Candace Owens? Egyptians? Like, what's going on here? Because there's also this. She reads it out loud. 920 King Street, Williamton, 19801. The resident office. Yet, look at the certificate of service under her lawsuit with Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron. What is that? Richards, Layton, and Finger? 1 Rodney Square, 920 North King Street, Williamson, 19801. That's Candace Owens' own attorney office. So is she being punked by a source and she didn't vet them? She didn't verify, corroborate, cross-checked, didn't do any fact-checking? None of that? Or is she intentionally leaving that out because that would link her to snakes on a plane? But, other people have the right to demand answers. Other people have the right to demand who is paying Candace Owens to speak on these topics on her YouTube channel. Other people have the right to ask questions and demand, how does that link her to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that these Egyptians just happened to fly from Provo all the way to Candace Owens' attorney's office where they stayed? Like I said, I'm not the only one saying it. Everybody's been saying it. Candace Owens has been implying everybody, especially Turning Point USA, which Erica Kirk is now CEO of and has been since shortly after her husband passed away. So when you implicate Turning Point USA, she's included in Turning Point USA. People aren't just making it up out of nowhere. I didn't say Erica Kirk. No, but you implied and you implicated her heavily when you say executives and people and this and Turning Point USA as a whole. So my question is, that address is directly linked to her and her lawyers. Why are snakes on a plane linked to Candace? Payoff by the Egyptians to talk about bad things about Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, because that would be something that they might be interested in as far as social media goes. And Candace Owens has been banned from a whole country because she can cause so much social unrest and discord. Crazy, right? But is it crazy? So I ask, are you trying to negotiate a payoff or a settlement with Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte to drop the lawsuit? You did try to dismiss the lawsuit after telling Tucker Carlson you didn't want it dismissed. But that address directly links and implicates you, Candace Owens herself. Who did Candace Owens betray? Who did she betray? And I believe the JWhit Podcast, who's also been talking about Candace Owens and her BS and her just AI-generated conspiracy theories and links that make no sense from 70 years ago. I believe he's the one that found this or has started this tumble, but a lot of people over on X have also realized the same thing. That 920 North King Street is the law firm that represents Candace Owens. So why would an Egyptian military plane be flying out of Utah anytime around the time is Candace Owens? Is Candace Owens and other foreign entities, were they watching Charlie Kirk? Were they watching him, stalking him? Did they have something to do with this? Because if she can usurp somebody's entire 9+ year investigation, she can certainly usurp somebody else's ideas and content. Lots of other users on X have pointed out the same exact thing. The law firm, Candace Owens' law firm, appears to be listed as representing Candace on her motion to dismiss. And yet she's linking that to her episode Snakes on a Plane, the Egyptian military. That's strange. That's really, really strange. Are Egyptians paying Candace Owens to spread a bunch of bad things about Israel, about Benjamin Netanyahu, about his policies, about him trying to change the literal constitution? We know about all of the conspiracies that have gone on, 50 years ago, 70 years ago between Egypt and Israel. But here, it's opening up a whole bigger set of questions that Candace is never going to straight out answer. You know what she's going to do? She's going to do another episode. She's going to bring one of these up, and she's going to sit there and say that this is a strategic smear campaign against her, like Blake Lively. No, people just tired of your shit. People are just tired of being lied to. People are just tired of everything being a fucking conspiracy theory. Everything. But we are going to solve the murder of my friend Charlie Kirk, making you believe that you are at one with her, that you are doing the right thing and the noble thing if you agree with her, if you agree the way that she approaches things, asking questions all day long. Sure, that's fine. I've even prayed for this nut job. I've even fucking prayed for this nut job and her kids and her family. She seemingly has everything at her fingertips. I have nothing, and I still prayed for this wacko. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with Egypt. Amid recent years, amid the war in Gaza, there have been fears and rumors that Israeli leaders are attempting to force Palestinians from Gaza into Egypt's Sinai Peninsula as a part of a dark web of conspiracy. And there's a lot more modern theories today that often reflect deep-seated mistrust, historical grievances, and a need to explain complex events, even when objective evidence is lacking. The official relationship between Egypt and Israel is governed by a long-standing 1979 peace treaty, but public sentiment and underlying political tensions remain extremely fragile. So when people say that Candace Owens is backed by Muslims or Islamists and that she's being paid, well, you know who her sponsors are. Her sponsors are the same sponsors that are shared with many other people, including people that she has thrown shade at. Like the Mimi Skincare. There's the Riverbend Ranchers. There's Preborn. You know, you see a lot of people sharing those same sponsors. But is Candace Owens being paid behind the scenes? Is she being paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars behind the scenes to talk about Israel, to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, to shed a bad light on him and his policies, which she doesn't even really get into the real policies. It's just constantly poking fun, making fun of him, making fun of Zionists and everything. I'm telling you, her next episode, she's going to bring this up about people realizing that this address is her law firm, that she is literally connecting this Egyptian military plane to her own attorney, literally out of all the spots on planet Earth, 8 billion people, 195 nations, all of the planes that are in the air every single hour, every single day, 365 days a year. She literally attaches Charlie Kirk's assassination, this Egyptian military plane, directly to her own lawyer's office. And then she's trying to make you believe that there's nothing there. It's the FBI, the DEA. I want to know, who did Candace betray? Who did Candace Owens betray? Did she betray Charlie Kirk? Is she being funded by Egypt to say horrible anti-Semitic types of rhetoric by insinuation and implication, so she doesn't have to get sued directly for defamation for just saying what you mean and mean what you say? I don't know, but it begs a lot of really weird questions. About that day, about why this is her attorney's office. Begs a lot of questions about her investigation into Charlie Kirk. Can she actually do a good job? Because it's been over 2 months, and you know, within the first 48 hours, if you don't catch the perpetrator, you have a lesser likelihood and chance of being able to preserve evidence and actually capture the person that is responsible. And it's been over, 2 months. Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th of 2025. We've had all through October, now November, and by December 10th, we'll mark 3 months. It is estimated by a user on X that Candace Owens was projected to make over $1.8 million just on her first 5 videos, not including the tribute to Charlie. Now that she's got 43 or so, somewhere early 40 something different videos, It's estimated off of the ad revenue, the live gifts, which she's not live. She's got this show she's publishing it as live. So she's collecting super chat, super stickers, gifts, monetary gifts. And then there's the replay. Once it publishes, catching it on the replay. So when you think that she's live, she's not actually live, because in 3 episodes ago, she had mentioned that I'm going to get to some of your comments from Friday. Like, okay. So she's sitting there with the laptop making you think that she's actually responding to live comments, but she's not. She's responding to comments that were cherry picked from the episode previous after it's been aired, and she'll pick certain ones, but she never shows them on the screen. She just reads them. So Candace Owens is pre-producing her episodes. She's uploading them, edited, and then she's publishing them to go live at 5:15 or 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then they do, and you think she's live, but she's actually not live. And that's okay, because lots of people also do that. But then she's also getting more it's more of ability to get more super stickers, super chats, because you're getting them on the live. And then when it's actually published, like the replay of that live is actually published after the live is done, you also have the ability to get super chats, super stickers on that as well. And it's estimated on her 40 plus videos that she's made about the Charlie Kirk assassination, basically since September 10th. Okay. Since September 10th. Okay, 2025, the very next day, she's done all of these episodes just in the last 2 months, that she's projected to make over $6 million. Now, that is alleged just based off of the views, the revenue, the live guests, and that's not even how many books, signed books, subscriptions, memberships that she's gotten. Now, she also has her book club, too. Those have all skyrocketed since she started presenting everything like she's the end-all be-all of truth. She is the end-all be-all. If she was the end-all be-all of truth, then why hasn't she solved anything yet? Why doesn't she have anything? Because Charlie Kirk, unfortunately, like President Garfield, President Abraham Lincoln, looking at President JFK, looking at Martin Luther King Jr., look at Charlie Kirk, all of them were assassinated by some young or middle-aged white male who just hated them, didn't like them, radicalized, sees conspiracy theories on YouTube all the time, and thought, that guy spreads so much hate that I got a window of opportunity and I'm gonna take it. Yeah, there are people like that. There are a lot of people like that in America. Because it's happened every generation, time and time and time and time again, for hundreds of years. So the fact that Tyler James Robinson was involved, she thinks he was involved, but he wasn't the only one. You don't think that he would have been screaming from the very moment he was arraigned via video that he wasn't the only one, or that he was paid to do this? If he was innocent as a 22-year-old kid or had no involvement and he's being wrongfully framed or accused, or he wasn't the only person, he would have been screaming on that video at his arraignment about his innocence, or that he's being framed, or that everybody has this wrong, because I know I would be. I know for fuck's sake I would be. If I was innocent, I would not be sitting there just taking it. You couldn't pay me enough money. You couldn't pay me enough money to do something so horrendous as end another person's life. Nope, no foreign entity, nobody, nothing could pay me enough money to sit there and take charges, including possible death penalty charges in a possible sentencing. No amount of money, no foreign entity, no federal agent. And it wasn't even federal agents that brought the charges. It was Utah law enforcement. And when people even asked her to look into the sheriff that was investigating because he stole an election, allegedly, she refused to look into him directly. Why? Because she doesn't want to commit actual defamation against a real person. But in a broader spectrum, in a broader way, it's easy for Candace Owens to say things like they, us, we, using inclusive language to make you feel like you're at one with her. And see, it was the Charlie Kirk stuff that made me no longer be a fan of hers. That's why I left the cult of Candace Owens, because I really started paying attention to what she is saying. Really started paying attention. And see, that's the thing with people that like to gaslight and manipulate and Darvo. What she's going to do on her next episode is she's going to bring up what everybody's bringing up on X about her implicating herself and her lawyers in that Egyptian military plane with that specific address and the link that she was trying to make there, the connection there, that she was in her own episode, Snakes on a Plane. Now, she's going to take that stuff that everybody found, realizing that it's her own law firm representing her against Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron. She's going to take those pieces of information and the questions that people have asked her, and she's going to make a mockery of it, and she's going to say it's Christian Zionist. Guess what, Candace Owens? I am not a Zionist. I'm not a Zionist. I'm not paid by any foreign entity. In fact, if any foreign entity wants to come pay me, please do. Please do. Please. Please. But Candace Owens is going to do that because instead of actually addressing the core, the substance of actual questions, she's doing what she claims Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron did to her. Refuses to answer all 20 questions. She's going to refuse to answer those questions, and she's going to laugh it off and make a mockery of it and say that it's somehow Christian Zionists and Christian Zionist content creators who are out here getting paid to smear her. No, just stop being fucking ridiculous and bonkers and show some real evidence and some real proof, because continuing down this path has done nothing but open more people's eyes. And now you just have a whole bunch of people hate watching, and like anything, it's just going to crash and burn, because that negative attention and that negative PR, it's only going to last so long before it plummets, because it's not obtained through truthful means, honest means, through real integrity and character, through real truth, through being honest and transparent. So it begs the question, why was an Egyptian military plane even somewhat linked to her lawyer's office? Why is her lawyer's office linked to these shared offices with the FBI and the DEA, the CIA? Is that why Candace Owens is so obsessed with Sigmund Freud and so obsessed with MK Ultra and so obsessed with psychological manipulation tactics? Because is that what she's doing to everybody? YouTube's policies prohibit content that uses psychological manipulation or promotes conspiracy theories when it poses a serious risk of egregious harm, such as encouraging dangerous acts. The same reason why Australia won't let her get a visa. Interfering with democratic processes and spreading harmful misinformation. Content that falls short of these strict violation lines may be deprioritized, demonetized in recommendation, or completely outright banned. And Candace Owens went through an almost year of fighting with YouTube to try to get her YouTube channel back up and monetized, from my understanding, because I was watching her all the time. But see, I really started paying attention. Jeffrey Epstein, that's done and over with. He's gone. Been gone for years. Harvey Weinstein. Cases are still going through his appellate processes. Blah, 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 blah. All of these open-ended investigations are investigations that have already been done by real law enforcement officers. Why does she keep piggyback riding off of the dirty, lying federal agents, the dirty, lying, corrupt police officers? Because it's kind of giving obsessive. It's kind of giving wishes she was a cop or wishing she was a fed or something. I don't know. Maybe she wishes she was an independent journalist. But this is what real journalists are supposed to do by oath, by legal standard, by integrity. They're supposed to collect the evidence, verify, vet, corroborate that evidence, and then present it. But she's not even doing that with her sources, let alone is she presenting real evidence. She's making you think and feel that she does. I don't care how you feel. I don't care that you like Candace Owens. I liked Candace Owens. It's just really crazy how much she has. And it's not even just about Charlie Kirk's legacy and Turning Point USA. She refuses now on her newest interview, refuses to look into Erica Kirk because she hasn't seen any lies. Any lies by Erica Kirk. Erica Kirk told the truth about him wearing a St. Michael. I wear the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and I have since I was 7 years old. Because I come from a very French, very devout Catholic family. And I don't consider myself to be a strict Catholic at all today. And I still wear the Sacred Heart of Jesus around my neck. And I have for over 33 years of my life. That doesn't mean he was converting to Catholicism. In fact, we don't see no evidence of such claims. And be a friend to Charlie Kirk, but just be honest, be truthful. And if you're going to investigate everybody, you have to investigate yourself too. Because Candace Owens, I don't know, there's something about her that's so off-putting. It's just very narcissistic to literally say things like the President of the United States, that POTUS should have just stopped everything and should have called her and said, hey, we should figure this out. Hey, what? Who in the fuck do you think you are? That you think you're that fucking important that the President of the United States should stop what he's doing and personally call you to be like, Candace Owens, nobody. Like, I need your help and we should work together to figure this out. When she said that, I was like, okay, you dumb. You cannot be that. Okay, you cannot be dumb and blind. You cannot be dumb and blind. That's not a defense. That's why I left the cult of Candace Owens. Because I'm not dumb and I'm not blind. But I hadn't been paying very close attention. I just thought her content was light, fun. Just really talking and deep diving these little conspiracies. Now when it comes to a real man's life, Charlie Kirk was a real person who did not deserve what happened to him. Ask questions all day long. But when you start pointing fingers at everybody around him except for yourself, well, now we know why. Now we know why. Because she's trying to hide in plain sight. The fact that her lawyer, are these Egyptians going to her lawyer's office to write a big fat check to leave money to come see Candace? Just a question. What were they doing? What were they doing there? What were they doing there? She's trying to link it to this shared office between the FBI, the DEA, the CIA. But it also happens to be the office where her lawyers are located. After all of these allegations that Candace Owens is being paid by foreign entities, specifically Qatar or others, to put in her YouTube channel content or her website all of this stuff about Gaza, Palestine, Benjamin Netanyahu. And she's never actually gotten down into the real policies of Benjamin Netanyahu or how he would have been facing prison time. And then all of a sudden, October 7th happens. Or how about literally trying to change the Constitution? How a whole bunch of Jewish rabbis and Jewish people in New York have been protesting against them. Not talking about none of that, just completely putting it in the public's mind to hate Israel, to not trust Israel. They're the one foreign entity that doesn't have to register under FARA constantly, and trying to link that to JFK. And then somehow trying to make parallels between JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., and Charlie Kirk. But Charlie Kirk wasn't a president of the United States. He wasn't even a politician. I mean, the guy openly admitted to everybody that he didn't even go to college. In fact, he would sit there and brief before every debate. He would actually brief every interview. He would brief over his talking points, over what he's going to say. Because that's essentially what he did. He essentially made content on social media. That's what he did. Yeah, he really founded a real organization behind that and a movement behind that. But that is essentially what he did up until the very moment that he passed away. And that it's the environment and the circumstance that was created that gave the environment and the circumstance for him to be assassinated, was that he's filming content. Because chances are, if there was no cameras there filming all that, he wouldn't have been there. The whole entire point is to be able to have these discussions and these debates, but to film it for content. Because that's how he made a lot of his money. That's how he pulled in donors. And Candace Owens has been trying to, learn the same exact way, but she wanted to get more into investigative journalism. The thing is that she's implicated so many people, and just even telling and saying that it's now the faith element, that there's all these dirty pastors, dirty ministers. Well, we could say that about the Catholic Church. There's been a lot of dirty priests. There's been a lot of bad popes. A lot of bad popes. In the last, 1,800 years, there's been a lot of corrupt popes that makes Borgia look like child's play. And there's been lots of corruption within the Catholic Church, with priests and sexual abuses on children. Literally, one city in the United States, the Boston area, had over 90 Catholic priests. And this is why Pope Francis was ushering in a new modern age and bringing new people to the Catholic Church, and really putting his foot down when it comes to that is not allowed in the Catholic Church. Xing out some priest that has been founded of committing any kind of sexual abuses against anybody, let alone little boys, little girls, children, babies, our most precious commodity. And they're just shipped off to another parish somewhere. Pope Francis was very big on addressing that head on and answering questions about that, and really bringing the Catholic Church into a modern new age. But does that give you the right to say that all Catholics are, abusers of little children, or that they are complicit in the sexual abuse of little children? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you can't say just because you find one guy that is questionable or dirty in his past, that's hiding behind the Bible, behind God, behind Scripture, Jesus, and claims to be faith-oriented first and foremost in his life, and is linked to Turning Point USA, or through their faith arm of Turning Point USA. And then to say that literally faith has been infiltrated, that it's a infiltration of faith and Christianity and politics. And that's how no, it doesn't take that. It literally took a 22-year-old kid, Tyler James Robinson, seeing that Charlie Kirk was going to be nearby, and an open window of opportunity, and he took it. And the whole thing with the 30-06 and all of that BS. You know what's crazy about that is the weapon itself was an older weapon. It wasn't brand new. It belonged to his father, his great-grandfather. And there's lots of different things. There's been lots of experts that you yourself can verify on YouTube. Sometimes it goes all the way through. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it obliterates. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends on where you're at, how far, what kind of weapon, all of those things, what kind of ammunition. Candace Owens is no expert on ballistics, same way I'm not. But to sit there and say that it can never happen the way that it happened is not only disingenuous, it is irresponsible. Because the impossible is possible. And it does happen. The fact that we are here, The fact that we are living, breathing human beings on this beautiful, phenomenal planet is proof that the impossible is possible. And I'm sure all of this evidence will come out at trial. And when this trial concludes and everybody gets the Freedom of Information Act requests and they're granted after he's sentenced, after all of this, if he's not given a plea deal to take the death penalty off the table and he admits what he did, because he admits what he did 3 times. Well, he does 2 different times, but he actually says that he has some kind of ideation 3 different times throughout the indictment, because I have read every page of the indictment. I have posted it on my YouTube. I have showed it. I have shared it. And Candace Owens has misrepresented the indictment completely. She didn't even know the difference between the Discord messages and the text messages. And I know that was highly embarrassing for her. But what is this? What is this? Is this just somebody punking her and purposely putting her own attorney's office address, and she's reading it out loud on Snakes on a Plane episode, and then she realizes it and she can't backtrack because she knows, like, with 6 million people watching you, there's gonna be somebody that's out there clipping that shit that's recording that shit. And she says that Christian Zionists also infiltrated her book club. No, if somebody's paying you a monthly subscription on your website and they're paying you $20 a month or $18 or $19 a month or $24 or $30 a month, and they are buying these books and they are part of your book club, and they happen to get a clip of you literally saying that the feds are the ones that killed Charlie Kirk, and that's the whole reason why you lost all faith in Trump and Trump's organization, also implying Trump, heavily implying Trump, saying that that's what they do. That's what they did. They'll give you a boulevard and a holiday. Oh, Israel already did. They gave him a boulevard. And it's always in the bad side of town. So she didn't anticipate anybody seeing that at all. But she does. She does implicate Trump, the Trump administration, Israel, and the feds. And taking out little old YouTuber Charlie Kirk. For what? It wouldn't even make any sense to take out Charlie Kirk. That's how you know it was a dumb 22-year-old. That's not even educated in his own belief system. Raised by a conservative family. In the recent years had just become very liberal and pro-trans and pro-democratic, whatever, far leftist ideology. It just makes no sense to take out somebody like Charlie Kirk, who was a friend to Israel. And unless she has something that directly implicates that he was converting. Not that he had thought about it, that he was converting. Because you can't prosecute thoughts in the court of law. You can't say that for a definitive fact. People think things all day, every day. People think good things. People think bad things. Good people think bad things, and bad people think good things. And it's just not that simple. Just because somebody thought about converting to Catholicism doesn't mean that they did, or that they were, or they ever planned on it. Just because somebody talked about politics in the state of America doesn't mean that they were ever going to be a politician. You know, because Charlie Kirk was just shy of his 32nd birthday. You know, who knows? Maybe one day he was trying to pave the way for it. But I'm telling you what, right now, if they're paving the way for Erica Kirk to be a senator or a congresswoman or a politician one day, no, she's not getting my vote. Because Charlie Kirk picked her to be his wife, to be his stay-at-home wife for a reason. To be there to raise their kids for a reason. All I'm saying is it seems to me like his death has highly benefited Candace Owens, and making over $6 million in 2 months on YouTube ad revenue and live gifts and subscriptions and merchandise sales and book sales, signed book sales off of subscriptions, memberships, super chats, super stickers, off of the ad revenue, the live and the replay ad revenue, through sponsorships, and whoever else, like the Egyptians at Qatar that might be paying her behind the scenes to say certain things or imply certain things in her content. That's a pretty fucking big motive to betray Charlie Kirk. That's a pretty big motive to pretend to be his friend, to pretend to be the only one that cares, The only one that loves him and wants truth and wants to see what happened. That's going to respect his wife and his children when she says she knows what the case is based off of. She knows what they have because she's seen it. And she's not worried about it because she and her team, they're solid. And they know they got the right guy. If you want to prove conspiracy, you have to prove a link between Tyler James Robinson and the federal agents. You have to prove a link that they not only knew about this before the incident occurred, but they had some kind of knowledge or forethought, and there was some kind of link before it occurred to lay any groundwork for a conspiracy to be plausible that the federal agents had anything to do with it, that they framed this kid or paid this kid off to do this, and he's just sitting there like a duck facing the death penalty. Hell no, I don't think anybody in the right mind could not be guilty and sit there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Candace Owens tries to twist this. She's going to try to twist it by facing it literally head on. She's going to try to put it right there in your face. She's going to quite literally be like, look at what these Christian Zionists are doing to me. They are evil. They are the devil, the demon. And they are all on a smear campaign. Who's paying them to run this smear campaign? Could it be that just the majority of people are like, fuck you, you're crazy, we're done with this shit? Like, start showing proof, or like, it's like, shit or get off the pot. Just shit or get off the pot already. You know, people are kind of at that point. If you're going to run these conspiracy theories, you got to give us a little something to believe in. You got to give us a little something that really links federal agents directly to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, for anybody to believe that it's even plausible. Because here's the thing that I think they wouldn't have captured, if it was anything like a sniper, a foreign entity, military, feds, they wouldn't have been dumb enough to leave the cameras up and running. They would have blacked those out weeks before the event. They would have made sure that nobody was seen. They would have taken that kind of shot at somebody from a further distance, not on a rooftop where people could record and see. It wouldn't have been seen, and it wouldn't have been in front of all of these witnesses. It would have been wham, bam, don't know what happened, done. Nothing, no one, no witnesses. Just saying they're smarter than that. But Candace Owens is going to say that this is Christian Zionists, that they're getting paid to do this. But it begs the question, what foreign person was on this Egyptian plane, and why are they going to Candace Owens' lawyer, her law firm? Are they paying her off? Is that how she's secretly getting paid? Did she have people watching Charlie Kirk's movements and tracking him? Because she stands to gain a lot, and has gained a lot, from Charlie Kirk's assassination. Most certainly. But most people would say, oh, that's crazy to think that way. Why not? It's the same thing she does. Everybody else has that right to think and to ask questions and to demand the truth. Why is Candace Owens' lawyer's address linked directly to an Egyptian military plane that she loosely linked to the assassination of Charlie Kirk? That would implicate her herself, right? So what foreign dignitary is it that is acting as a buffer between Candace and her lawyers? Who's paying who, and who's really betraying who? I think it's time she actually stops deflecting and projecting and gaslighting and manipulating other people and start really answering real questions. Start really answering real questions. Because what she's pulling is a Brigitte. Gonna sit there and say in mainstream media and on her own show, oh no, it's just all slander, it's libel, it's all crazy. Look at what they're saying. They're saying the address is my lawyer's address. Because it is. But then when people ask questions, why is that? Why is this plane tied to this address? Why is your lawyer in the same address as this allegedly shared office between the FBI, the DEA, the CIA, whatever? We know that Candace Owens' husband is worth over $250 million. We know that she's in the elite because she has clawed her way to it. And she likes to use the courts and the legal system to try to win money. But now she found something even better, her friend's assassination. Yeah, convenient and lucky for her, right? But everybody else is bad for asking questions. Everybody else is bad for waiting. Because if Tyler James Robinson is the person who killed Charlie Kirk and they got the right guy, I would much rather him be sentenced by a jury of his peers and have his due process rights than to potentially obstruct justice, impede an active investigation or trial, tamper with witnesses, or possibly bias a jury pool and get him acquitted or a hung jury, or get him off, just completely off by an acquittal or a mistrial. So Candace Owens can sit back and say, see, I told you the feds are lying. I told you the feds are corrupt. I told you, see, they let this kid go. No, that's not truth. And that is not seeking justice. To know that that kid did what he did to Charlie Kirk and took his life and ever has a possibility of walking scot-free. Nobody should want that. And any friend of Charlie Kirk should not want that. Ask questions all day long. Implicate all these people. That's running a very blurred fine line there, because now you're defaming and slandering people that have nothing to do with Charlie Kirk's actual assassination. I just think Candace Owens she is being paid. In my own opinion, I have thoughts and feelings that she is being paid. And they helped her to get the over 5.5 million followers on YouTube to make the money that she's making. But she's getting paid behind the scenes, sponsorships, or she's getting donations to say certain things against Israel, against the Jewish people, against Zionists, against Jewish Americans, against Benjamin Netanyahu. And that's just my own opinion and my own thought and my own feeling. But it's not just alleged. She literally linked that address right to her own attorney, that Egyptian plane, that snakes on a plane, right to her own lawyer's office. Coincidence? There are no coincidences. Erica Kirk. But you guys can let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments section, because it'll be very interesting to see what she says about this. She doesn't always do an episode on Friday, but possibly Monday, because we know that she just uses X as a platform to further instigate, start shit, try to bait people out of reaction statements, etc., etc. And if she does, I'm telling you now, she's going to do the classic Candace Owens move. She's going to address it head on, and she's going to say that it's Christian Zionists paid to try to create all this propaganda, when she is literally a propagandist, like Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister for the Third Reich, who Benjamin Netanyahu literally compared her to. And she's going to sit there and try to deflect and project away from why that address is her attorney's address, representing her in the Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron lawsuit that they brought against her. Yeah. Crazy. I think it goes a lot deeper. I think Charlie Kirk really socially kind of stepped back from Candace Owens, because she probably got too conspiracy for him. She was fired from the Daily Wire. She had issues for a year trying to get monetized on YouTube and get her platform back, and it could be because of the conspiracy theory. They don't allow that or psychological manipulation, but that's what she's doing. That is what she's doing. I wouldn't be surprised if she has more defamation lawsuits coming. But, telling Charlie's own personal pastor to sit down and I demand your silence. Who talks to anybody like that? I mean, if that was my friend's personal minister, priest, pastor, I wouldn't treat them that way. Just out of respect for my deceased friend. But, Candace Owens has monetized her deceased friend. And that is a fact. That is a truth. That is non-negotiable and non-disputable. That she has made a lot of money off of Charlie Kirk's assassination. But it begs the question, how much more money is she making behind the scenes, getting paid to tie it to the government, the feds, and to run all these conspiracy theories to implicate and imply Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, Jewish people, Jewish Americans, or Zionists? Is she getting paid by the Egyptians? Qatar, like a lot of people think. I don't know, but maybe she just outed herself and didn't even realize it. And it's kind of funny how much she slipped up recently with showing how much she doesn't verify, fact check, corroborate anything, because she's catching herself in her own web at this point. But I still urge everybody to pray for Candace Owens. To pray for Candace Owens, even if she is a psychopathic sociopath who needs to go have a brain scan done to see what cluster B personality disorder she has and go get very intensive psychotherapy for the rest of her life. I still hope and pray that she actually sees truth and sees the light and sees a better way of investigating her friend's assassination without hurting other people. That's all I'm saying. I love you all. Have a great day. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I hope everybody's gearing up for Thanksgiving. And we will come back hopefully by Thanksgiving and talk about a few other things. But until then, I just want to say I love you. I pray everybody has not only a wonderful holiday season, a great weekend, a great holiday week after that. And I will catch you all on the flip side. Definitely like, share, subscribe, comment. It helps me out. I like the engagement. I like talking to people. I like seeing your thoughts, feelings, expressions, opinions, even if they don't align with my own. And I want to say that I love you, and I am so humbled and grateful that you choose your time to be here with me. All right, everybody, have a great day.